like and subscribe. What are your experiences and thoughts regarding foregoing children due to climate change or other socio-political reasons? Personally, I don't know anybody that has used climate change or socio-political reasons as their sole reason for not having kids. But if I were to ask many of the people that I know that don't want kids, BO specifically I guess, but I know more CF people, it's definitely one of many reasons they'd list a lot of the time. I think any reason not to have kids is a good one, but considering having a kid is such a life-changing event, it seems to me, you should have reasons to have kids, not need to provide reasons not to have them, if any reasons are needed, that is. I can't think of a single selfless good reason to have children. So when I look at the reasons not to, them suffering because of climate change, and further contributing to the problem, kind of take center stage. I want one baby and I trained it good. Like really good, from knitting to archery. I'll start by say I don't have any real opinions on people having or not having children. Everyone should do what they want. But I don't believe that anyone who truly wants children decides not to have them because of climate change. I think it might push a fence sitter to the no kids side. Or be a reason why someone child-free might be happy with their choice. But aside from a few very dedicated climate change campaigners who also give up everything else that impacts the climate as well, I just don't believe anyone who says they truly wanted kids and this is why they choose not to have them. Most people are not even willing to give up plane travel, never mind such a monumental life choice. I'm not a woman, but I feel like I'm becoming one of those people. And to be fair, it's not just climate change. But for the first 27 years of my life, I was quite certain I wanted to have kids. But everything that happened in 2020, I'm American, has made me reconsider. It's climate change, it's wealth inequality, and the all too late realization that I don't live in a society that is able to respond well to the disasters that my kid would live through. I guess I'm not totally evidence to the opposite of your point, because I've only gone from yeah, someday to maybe not, rather than fully rejecting the idea, but my guess is that things are going to get worse with time, and I'm only going to have more reasons not to have kids. I do not want children myself. It really boils down to the fact that I just don't want them, but I believe anyone's reasoning to forego them is valid. It's not like we owe anyone children, so their reasons are their own. I actually really respect people who want BO kids, and decide not to have them for reasons you specified. Golden snip holder here. I see the results of too many humans every day, and can see it coming. My hometown will be underwater by 2035 and my birthplace will follow in 2060, along with most of the world's coastlines. Not having children is the best way to reduce humans' harmful impact. It is 60 tons of CO2/year better than even the most vegan, recycling, homegrown adult human. There are just too many of us. The environment is something I'm taking into account when deciding whether to have children. Given that the situation will become even more dire in the next 20 to 30 years, it makes me wonder if bringing kids into that is the right choice. Do the biggest advocates and lobbyists for environmental change have children? Yes. Then why sacrifice your own life goals when they do not? I think there are other ways to make change in those regards, and one less child isn't going to change much. All the people who are conscious about the world are not having as many kids, while all the people who don't give a rat's keep having too many. I have one, and think about the life Hella's going to have, and worry all the time if Hella's going to do well and have a good life. I worry if I have another, that their standard of life won't be as good because of the state of the world. Having children without being able to somewhat guarantee they'll have a good life is selfish, I think. I don't want to bring another soul into this disaster. I think that having children, knowing how bad things are, and will keep on getting, is an egoistical decision. Gotta be brave to raise kids. It is a struggle. You can have kids, and teach them what you think will help them navigate this world. Despite ecological degradation, we have amazing health, quality of life and lifespan available to us. It is not a bad time to be alive. I don't want to be a bummer, but the lifespan it's actually decreasing on the working class. It's a good question, because I do wonder if letting climate change influence my decisions is too drastic. But yes, I have seriously thought about whether I want to have kids during these times. The world is expensive, overcrowded, and I think a bit selfish. Billionaires are trying to go into space, rather than save our planet. At a different time, I would definitely be much more inclined to have babies. But right now, I just don't think it's what the world needs, and there will be so much expense. I'm in the USA. Having kids grow up, and have to go through a climate crisis in an overpopulated world, seems a little rough. I have the same thoughts on this topic. Haven't reached a concrete decision yet, there's so much uncertainty. It has been the hottest summer on record where I live. Temperatures are usually between 20 and 25 degrees C in summer. Now it has been between 25 and 31 degrees for the last few weeks, and I couldn't imagine having a child, a baby in this heat. Also overpopulation, and we don't really need more people on this planet. As a parent to 4 children who constantly worries about their future, because of the complete garbage the world has become, I support any reasons not to have kids. If I could go back in time with the knowledge I have about the world today, I probably wouldn't have kids either. I'm with you. I love my kids, and want them to have a shot at a good life, but I'm also terrified of what the future may hold for them. However, I don't think there's anything that could have actually convinced me of these kinds of visceral fears I have now, when I was wanting them in the first place. I'd like to believe I'd choose differently, but I'm not convinced I would have. Now that I had my daughter, I feel really guilty about bringing her into climate change. I did not understand that the predictions for total catastrophe were so soon. I feel the same way. It's why I'm now actively getting involved in environmental issues in my community. I have to do something. We can still work towards a future, and I can't fix everything, but I refuse to give up hope that I can do something. Planning to have children is ultimately a selfish act. I have been into environmentalism since I was 14, and I have never rejected having children in the future just because of *UNMITIGATED* climate change. I think there is a gigantic misunderstanding behind this rationale. In Niger, the average woman has 7 kids and they produce one of the lowest carbon footprints on Earth. Funny how that works. I'm not having children because I've never wanted them. Climate change only gives me more reason. A huge part of my 27th reluctance to have a kid is a late-stage capitalism economy, which is obviously tied to climate change. The gap between the rich and poor has widened immensely in the past 30 years, and is only getting bigger. It feels hard enough to support myself and set up for my own future at this point, and adding children to the mix is basically unthinkable given me and my partner's field of work. We're trying to set ourselves up, and hopefully we increase our finances a lot over the next several years, but that is not guaranteed. The cost of saving for my own future healthcare is enough to scare me away from the thought of having a child to put in expensive daycare and then support for 18+ years. I would also be terribly anxious for my future kid, who would probably have to live through a devastating ecological disaster at some point, and potentially deal with food shortages, or needing to relocate due to climate change. Right now I feel like I could handle mine if it came down to it, but the thought of my child suffering through those scenarios, and not being ridiculously wealthy to support them through the catastrophes, is enough to make me not want to have one. Basically, in my mind, having kids equals anxiety for their future in a world impacted by climate change. No kids equals chilling, saving, and enjoying the present moment as much as possible. I feel very much the same. Because of the cost of childcare and education, the resources needed to actually get a child to thriving adulthood seem insane. Like, unless I get very rich, would they even have a reasonable chance at a high call? I'm genuinely concerned. It's so competitive now. Having a kid is anxiety in itself. I wake up thinking about my kid, work thinking about my kid, and go to sleep thinking about my kid. The worry grows the older she gets, and Sheila's only 6. Earth sucks and I said come on, and join us with a partner I'm not compatible with long term, and we are finally coming to realize it just needs to end. It is scary, I am sure, even more so for mamas. From someone who is about to give birth in a morto vertical bar, I fear all of these things. We question women more on why they don't want to have kids, than why they do, which I think is a far more important question. I think it is perfectly valid to not want to raise a child in a world like this, or a world that might be ending soon. I feel like people who are giving this as an excuse don't really want kids to begin with, and that is fine. I think those are great reasons not to. Heck, I sure thought about it before having kids. All for it. I don't see the point of bearing children anymore. The whole point of reproduction is to safeguard the survival of a species. I think we have more than enough guarantee that the only thing we are doing now, by reproducing even more, is just safeguarding our destruction, to just stop it for a couple of decades at the least, and adopt the kids already out there looking for some non-toxic parenting and guidance in life. Also, because more than half the parents out there are not equipped to provide their kids the kind of support and guidance they need. I'd rather be childless than bear one, just to satisfy my whim of pushing one out of myself, and then them up irrevocably. I would prefer to adopt. One of the primary reasons is that I don't like the idea of intentionally creating new life when I know the problems with overpopulation, climate change, etc. I also don't have a strong desire to experience pregnancy or childbirth. I agree with this. I don't see a point in birthing a new life that will undoubtedly suffer due to the effects of climate change. We have no idea what could happen: famine, droughts, superbugs/fungi, cataclysmic storms, etc. I would adopt a baby that has already been born, as there's a need to be catered to at that point. There's not a need for me to birth a child. It feels selfish ***** Tiomi, edit. I honestly feel selfish, and that my biology is taking over my reasoning for wanting biological children. But if I could practice self-control, I would either adopt, if I could, or work with children in some way. I think it's cruel and short-sighted to bring more people into this world. But honestly, why should I sacrifice my desires when nobody else will? Unless we dramatically alter course, and where climate change is headed, where I currently live, will be underwater in 10 or so vertical bar. I cannot in good conscience condemn another person to life on a planet that is dying. I am going to forego having children. I do not judge others who choose to have children, but it does not align with my ethical beliefs. Regardless of whether we survive climate change or not, it is going to take its toll. I do not want my child to be one of the unfortunate billions. That is like saying that humanity should stop existing for the sake of climate change, or to reduce the population of poor inner city children. Extremist, and I am disappointed that people really think there are no other options to address these problems. Your body, your choice. I didn't decide not to have kids for climate reasons. I decided not to have kids because I absolutely do not enjoy anything about kids. That said, it does not go unnoticed by me that an entire lineage less of people will never use any of Earth's resources due to my foregoing children. It's certainly more significant than any effect I'm going to have just by using bar soap or riding my bike to the store, although I do those things and others. On one hand, I hear that climate change and overpopulation is a problem. On the other, I read articles noting the declining birth rate is a problem in countries because we are not producing enough of a younger generation to support the older generations. So, which is the problem? Who do I believe? Neither of these points have swayed my opinion on having children either way. I decide how many kids I want to have. Yes, I'm not having children due to the climate crisis. Being alive is already existential enough. Seems cruel to enter children into this world knowing what will come against their will. I certainly don't want to experience it. I want kids, but I will not be having kids due to my fear of pregnancy and if the trend continues of older generations. I'm up for younger ones. I think it is not fair to bring someone into this world to deal with all that stuff against their will. It feels more ethical to me personally to take in one of the 153 million kids that are already here and have no family and give them a better shot at life than what they have right now. I have never had any desire to have kids biologically. If I decide I want to be a mother in the future, I'll look into fostering or adoption. Why bring more children into the world when there are still so many who need parents? Given the state of the world, I think the only moral choice for a person living in a developed country is not to have children. We have to be realistic about the immense damage we are doing, and the fact that not having a child is the single best thing a person can do to reduce their footprint and contribute to the greater good. I agree. I would love to have kids one day, if the world becomes a better place. I saw people in the comments saying it's not a real reason, or people with this view don't really like kids. Just wanted to say it's not my case. I love children, but it's a conscious choice to not have any of my own in this messed up world, and climate change is my main reason. I think it's extremely selfish to bring a child to the world now, just because you want to be a parent, without considering how their future is going to look like when you are long gone. To each their own, of course. Personally, I am conflicted about it. These are the reasons I consider when I think about having kids. Although I am currently on the fence myself, I also fear a world where there is an increasingly smaller number of empathetic and forward-thinking people who choose to procreate. Yes. Who cares? It is their choice. To each their own. Children have always been born into less than ideal circumstances. It's only in very recent history that children are a choice instead of something that just happens. The ethical question, is it ethical to bring a child into such a world? Would be well balanced by considering how much less hardship kids are born into these days, especially in Western countries. We got antibiotics, pain medicines, and endless entertainment. TL. Dr. Modern life is not non-stop suffering for people able to make this choice, so a decision about children doesn't seem to me like something that should be so loaded. I don't have them because I don't want them. Honestly, I have always wanted to have children. Though, looking at the worrisome signs of climate change and other factors, I don't feel like I can in good conscience. I don't want to bring a child into the world with such an uncertain future. I've decided that, if and when I have children, I'll adopt or foster kids that need a home. You've been visited by the ghost of a very important man. Pay your respects by liking and subscribing, and he'll grant you 3 weeks of good luck. 3 weeks of